Here we have this week's Tech A video newsletter on Monday the 22nd of October 2007. Once again with these video newsletters we're looking at covering the CAC, the DAX, Dow, FTSE, Nasdaq and the Nikkei, all the main indices that are out there. We'll first start off with the CAC. The CAC, as we can see, has retraced a little bit. Last week we noted that there would be a tighter consolidation. That in fact happened. There is a support at just above 5,700, which is there's a possibility that it's landed at that now if we look. But I think what we need to do is really follow, look towards the Dow as to see how the current market conditions are likely to affect that. I would look more towards the Dow and then the DAX, which we'll be looking at next. If those are affected, then chances are the CAC will be too. Moving on now to the DAX, which is the German market. There's a possible support found within the midpoint, which is a midpoint is the point between support and resistance, and we can draw a line simply along that midpoint, and it kind of hits this bottom here. So we do have a possibility of support. That kind of is proven by, if we look at the intraday market for today, there's not a massive amount of movement, so there is a possibility of a small bounce happening just here. Well, what we're likely to see is a consolidation within these two ranges, 8,000 and around about 7,900 for the DAX. Moving now on to the Dow. We all know what happened to the Dow on Friday, dropped tremendously. The Dow had been fighting a consolidation at new highs. It's not really much of a surprise that we've seen this huge downturn, huge bearish fall, landing smack at support just beneath 13,600 at around about that's probably about 13,500 and something. So we do have support provided by the midpoint of the consolidation. Oops. Chances are that we're likely to get a bit of a slowdown for today. Possibility of finding support at around about 13,500, round about there, possibly a bit lower down here. So it's likely to slow down. Oops. We're going to see a slight pause as the market takes a bit of a breather, but a lot of support is added by this period of consolidation, heavy point of consolidation, so that's the reason why it stopped at around about 13,500. We're likely to see a support at around about that point. Any severe retracement will be slowed down a little by this period of consolidation. So it's sort of that acting as a support, really weighty support at 13,500, which is the reason why the Dow closed at that on Friday. So we can expect a slower market with the Dow, and not so surprisingly, but certainly sort of a slow, thin market with support at 13,500. Sometimes you do get like a reactionary bounce that happens when the market's been shorting quite strongly. So there could be a possibility of a bounce, but be cautious of those because they can be very quick, and certainly would only be worth trading intraday, and only if you had access to the market and were prepared to sit and wait. But for now, we're going to see a slight pause before we see a further consolidations and then further retracements later on. Moving on now to the FTSE. The FTSE has been affected too by the Dow. Knock-on effect on the close on Friday of the Dow. Moving on to today, very thin market, finding support at around about where 6,500 for the FTSE, so we're likely to find support there for the FTSE at that. Likely thinning market. If we look at the intraday moves on the FTSE, very thin market for today. sorry, what am I talking about? There's huge market move, pre-market auctions move the market down, but since then there's been a very thin market, so we're likely to see a support further down. Actually, if we look back, so we're likely to see a support around about here. I didn't notice the huge intraday move just there, but that's pre-market auction going on there. That's where the institutions buy and sell, and it sets the sort of the entry point for the market for that day. So you get these 10-minute period that the pre-market auctions open and close and sell and buy during that point, which opens the market at a much lower point. In this case it did. So we've got support actually at 6,400, which would kind of make more sense because we've got this very strong, similar in fact to the Dow, very strong consolidation that would act as a good support. From now on, possibility of a consolidation between 6,400 and 6,500 before we see possibility of a small recovery. Tend to get a small recovery, but nothing fantastic, and then much like the FTSE has been suffering from lately, more consolidations. Moving now to the Nasdaq. Nasdaq will be affected too. As soon as the market opens, we can expect possible further drops down to support around about 2,700. Look towards those. Not massive moves, of course, but certainly finding support at 2,700. The NIC affected greatly just recently, looking to find support at around about 16,150, 16,200. As soon as it hits that, we're likely to get quite a severe bounce from that, but it could be shadowed by this resistance at 16,500. So we could get a bounce initially up to there with the Nikkei. So that's this week's Tech A from InsightSupport.com. Keep a close eye out on the Dow hitting support, got a strong support, likely thinning market. Could get a slight bounce from that. They tend to get these reactionary bounces. A bounce is where it hits the support and bounces back up again, but it's very brief. This will have a knock-on effect to initially the FTSE and followed by the DAX, and the CAC tends to follow the DAX. The Nikkei will obviously follow the Dow, so follow Dow's lead pretty much. The Nick looking for a possibility of a bounce up to around about 16,500. So that's this week's Tech A video newsletter, and we'll be back next week. Okay, have a good week. Bye bye now.